Hi guys, I'm going to be leaving this video on Instagram TV, and we're going to do a version on YouTube. It never looks as good, but I promise I'll put it up there. If you're tuning in at any time, hey Jaya, how's it going? I want to do a little video today. First of all, massive shout out to people in Sydney and Melbourne. I was talking to my marketing manager today, and she literally had just run up 7 flights of stairs after being outside in the cold for an hour and a half after the earthquake. Melbourne, you are going through a shocking period as well at the moment. How frightening for everyone on top of everything else that's happening at the moment. Such an incredibly challenging time. So thoughts and prayers with everybody. I've also got a lot of shout outs. So many people have messaged me around dealing with grief in lockdown. I've got some dear close friends and clients that are actually losing parents at the moment and aren't able to get there to be with them by their side, and I know how that feels. So there is just so much going on at the moment, and the ability to deal with this discomfort and everything else is becoming a real art. It's also not just a normal mindfulness moment, and it's not just going through typical levels of stress and overwhelm. We're really dealing with a massive amount of SHIT at the moment. So hands up if you're like, what the effing F is going on? Like, when is this just going to end? This is just going on, and I know that everyone's trying to put on a brave face. We're all trying to find our mojo. We're all trying to look for a positive spin on things. We're all trying to avoid the conversation that has been going on for 2 years and try and focus on something else. And then bam, you know, something else hits us. And on top of that, you've got other issues like your schooling and school holidays and travel and lockdowns and businesses closing. And New Zealand is going through incredible dire straits at the moment. And a real difficulty in trying to get back on track again after years and months of being in business lockdown. So there is just incredible unrest, even in our, more mature levels of our population in a world we have so much in Australia and New Zealand and in the South Pacific, not to mention third world countries that are also just suffering way beyond what we ever believe. So I wanted to do a personal little video today just to talk about the fact my AirPods have actually batteries run out because I've been on the phone and I've been coaching for solid hours every day. I've been doing amazing webinars on radical self-belief with corporate teams at the moment and on mastering Mojo during these unprecedented times. And the conversations we've been having, it gives me goosebumps to go through this with each of you. So I thought, why not do a live on what the F is going on and how do you actually lean into understanding your emotions and feelings during these discomfort times rather than just, projecting them and having an uprising of anger and emotions and violence, and our inability to process our emotions because we can't access our feelings about things because we're so confused. That usually results in some kind of bust up, right? And interestingly, we've got different types of personalities in this world, and I for sure am a fixer. I can't help it, and so I've really had to learn to create space and allow other people just to figure their own stuff out. Not because I'm like, you figure your own stuff out, I don't care. But I think we need to take our foot off people's neck at the moment and just go, shit, we're all doing the very best that we can. So a couple of things. I'm always doing my little cue cards because that's how I write ideas down. And I wrote a couple of things. One of the topics I want to talk about is what I call a shouldative, which is like an additive. It's not good for you. It's I should have done this or I should do that and they should have done this. And we have all these expectations. So the first advice I want to give you today to anyone joining, hey Matt, how are you? How's it going? I love the picture of the long pool and the Maldives, by the way. God, I would love to do that lap pool. And then Philippe, how are you, sir? Dave, and of course, Jaya, it's really good to have everyone here. So I think what I want to talk about, the first thing is, how do you just find a moment where you can feel okay and access this, what I call zero gravity or flow, regardless of what's going on around you? And that's effectively where you find your quantum point of neutrality. So the ability to come into self, regardless of what is going around you, what disaster is happening around you, what people are doing around you, saying around you, and all the things that are out of your control. Because ultimately, if you think about well-being and stress and happiness and making conscious decisions, we need to do it from a cellular level where there isn't any toxicity, there's no fear-based decision making, there's no tiredness, exhaustion, overwhelm, and all the things that kind of prevent us from making deep, good, intuitive decisions, gut decisions. Well, that's easy to say, isn't it? In a time where you can't even plan next week, you can't have your usual holidays. Like, I haven't been to Fiji for a usual island getaway. I used to go for weeks at a time and look after those gorgeous Labradors, and I don't think I've really left this area for years. I mean, since I came back from Aspen, I haven't really traveled. So, we've got to find new ways of really connecting with self. So to me, this is actually a gift, this period in time. But once you get to a point where the walls are closing in and what you thought should have happened by now hasn't, or what you thought someone should have done by now hasn't done, then you start to go crazy and you think, I can't cope anymore. And I think this is becoming a real issue. People are really losing their ability to cope, and they're losing their ability just to laugh. And we're kind of done doing our hair at home, whatever it is. What was someone saying the other day, the top 5, trying to motivate each other, learning new skills, all the stuff that you can say, yeah, focus on all that. But at the end of the day, people are feeling pretty crap. So how do you deal with discomfort? Relationship discomfort too, when we really want someone else to hear us, but that person is in no state, place, or ability or capacity to take on board what you're saying. Or maybe you've got family relationships that you're going through that are having massive breakdowns and reconfigurations, and you're the new paradigm and everyone else in your family is stuck in the old paradigm, so you're feeling excluded and isolated and misunderstood, and lonely. I think a lot of people are feeling really lonely. So this is the time when you have to have a moment to really dig deeper than ever before and understand that we are such sovereign, amazing beings. We have an ability with neuroplasticity and neuroscience to actually adapt and evolve far beyond what we've even discovered yet. It's just that we don't usually have to tap into those resources because all we normally have to do is ask Siri. But now we have to ask ourselves, what is it that I'm feeling? Is it rage? Is it frustration? Is it hurt? Is it disappointment? You have to process stuff. You can't just feel it and then walk away from it and not go through it. The reality is that everyone I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks with the intense coaching at quantum level, and then also the group and masterclass coaching with some of my leadership teams, is people are pretty effed off. They're like, for F's sake, I've done all the things I'm supposed to do. I've tried to be a great parent. I'm doing homeschooling. I don't know where our next income's coming from. Our company's making everyone have vaccinations. There's just so many stories. People don't feel that they're in charge of their lives anymore. And they also just don't feel happy anymore. They feel the rug has been pulled underneath them. And now Melbourne and Sydney have gone through these earthquakes on top of everything else. So I guess what I wanted to do is run a little masterclass today with this live and talk about the neuroscience behind the pain body and dealing with discomfort, and help you in a very kind of basic manner talk about what bag you want to pick up off the carousel and how do you work through your feelings and emotions when you're at rock bottom. When for everyone else you have to put a brave face on, but you're really feeling pretty effed off. When for everybody else you have to come up with ideas or motivate people or say it's going to be okay, but underneath it all you actually don't know if it's going to be okay. Where you have to show that you're part of a solidarity in a group, you're doing the right thing, but you might not agree with the rules that are being put out in front of you, and you feel that your freedom has been taken away. Really basic human needs, significance, safety, and recognition. That connection, those basic human needs are being taken away because nobody's voice is being heard. So what I've been dealing with through a lot of my coaching and client sessions at the moment is the ability to not detach, but to really find your flow during this time, and to allow whatever is going to unfold, to allow whatever's going on around you to go on around you, and not try and get sucked into the greater levels of energy, the greater distress. And also, if you're feeling crap, how do you move through that? So a couple of things. It's kind of like having the spiritual flu. You'll probably feel pretty exhausted at the moment and confused, fed up, sick of putting on a brave face, and also hard done by the universe. You think you're doing all the right things, you've paid your karmic debts, you've paid your financial debts, your physical debts, whatever else, but this isn't working, right? Everyone is in a state of disarray. So what I was talking about with my clients on their individual sessions is finding the flow and dealing with discomfort in a way like we've never done before. So there's 3 ways to do that. The first thing is to understand if you're feeling excluded or frustrated, or people aren't responding to you in the way that you need, or you've taken some paradigm shifts and set some boundaries and started talking about your self-worth and value and asked for a better reciprocal energy in relationships and what's going on around you. And that's not happening because you've got radio silence or other people are processing their own shit. How do you deal with that when you're not getting anything back? You have to sit with what you're really feeling. Are you sad? Are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you scared? Where is it that these emotions are coming from, and why are you sitting in those emotions? What's the core root of that emotion that's coming through that's keeping you feeling flat, empty, and uncomfortable? So normally when I talk about the leap matrix, we go from the walls of comfort, which are actually an ego safe zone of familiar. So we tend to go to familiar when we're in stressful situations. We go, well, at least the devil I know is better than what I don't know. But with the new paradigms that are unfolding and the new world and the matrix that's happening at the moment, the way we have to make decisions and run our businesses and have communication, we don't really know what that future looks like. So here we are in this void of no man's land, or no woman's land, depending on how you want to look at it, no person's land. And I think it's really, really interesting, because if you can harness the gift to be comfortable with discomfort, to be comfortable with the space between, that is where the magic happens. But that is really mastering the art of self, which is what I'm always banging on about. And it's like Thought Tinder on episode 149 of my show. You have to be radically precise with what you're going to think about. You have to be radically intentful with the thoughts that you will continue with, not the one that pops up, but what are you going to keep mulling over? What are you going to keep hanging on to? What thought are you going to harvest, water, and give attention to? So the first thing that comes up when you're feeling discomfort is the story, the thought, or the immediate response to an action that's occurred in front of you. Whatever it is. It could even just be that your kids just, they're just feeling depressed and demotivated, and that's starting to annoy you, and rightly so, So for both sides. So the most important thing is recognizing the first thought or emotion, or being effed off or sad or disappointed or hurt or whatever it is, and then deciding, are you going to keep watering that thought and give it more airtime, or will you have the mental discipline, the mental training, the left and right bicep curl to go, I have to change the second part of that thought. I have to reframe this, otherwise all I'm going to do is oxygenate the thought that's going to make me feel worse. So yes, things might have gone wrong in the past. Yes, you might have feared for your life today with the earthquake. By the way, I went to boarding school in an area that was on a fault line, so we had so many earthquakes, and as a young girl, it was petrifying. So I totally get how frightening that is. But the state of being petrified, the state of fear, the state of unanchored discomfort that we're all in at the moment requires a different approach in how we allow emotions to come through our bodies, and that ultimately is how we allow our thoughts to process and define our reality. It is that specific. You can't wing it, because if you just wing your thoughts, they will become your reality, which is worry, fear, doubt, blame, shame, guilt. That is staying in the pain body of this is all a crap situation, I give up, I don't know what to do, or I'm losing the person I love the most, or I can't get to the person I love the most. We feed ourselves in the misery. So what we need to do, if you've listened to Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, anyone that talks about neuroplasticity and changing our chemical reactions in our body, this is what I work on with neuroscience, is you must have the radical intent to choose your new reality. Even if it goes against every fiber in your body at the moment to go, well, that's really easy to say, Nikki, but we've just had an earthquake. I don't even know where I'm working tomorrow. I'm shit scared and I'm sick of COVID. I mean, that's the reality, isn't it? So what are you going to do with that information? Yes, that's the reality, but what are you going to do next? Find something to be grateful for. You're alive, you're breathing, you're watching this. Are your kids safe? Are your family safe? Are your friends safe? Are we going to get through this? Have worse things happen before? Yes. What are you going to do about it next? Can you go and do something as simple as making a cup of tea? Go and get something, change. Have you got internet? You can watch Netflix. Do something to change that moment in reality that is taking you down a rabbit hole of all the things that are wrong in this world. Energetically, we can't afford to keep sitting in that space. And the only way to not do it is to radically have the intent to move yourself out of that. So you've got to understand that part 2 is dealing with discomfort, is being okay in the no person zone, the no man land, the oh my God, I don't know what's happening next, is walking around. You're allowed to be sad for a little bit. You're allowed to feel shitty for a little bit. You are allowed, it is your birthright to have an emotion. So don't stuff that down, but recognize what it's really about and where it's coming from, and ask yourself, can I control the external environment? If you can't, why are you pulling your anxiety into that area? What can you be in charge of? Your immediate ecosystem, your thoughts, how you look after your body, how you communicate with loved ones, how you communicate with your kids, get down to their level, talk to them equally. Your fear will emanate out. Our fear ripples out. We have a responsibility now as a community and as a group of leaders, whatever our age, whenever you're listening to this, to lead from within and go, I can't afford to stay in the cycle of negativity, because it's not only serving not me, but those around me. And chemically, it is no good for our bodies. The only choice you have in discomfort is to deal with it by being okay with it. By being okay with feeling crap for a day or two or a few weeks and knowing, shit, this is a really shit situation. Yeah, it is. But what can we do right now in this very moment to be in our reality? Anxiety only occurs when we stay in the past thoughts to avoid pain, conflict, or we project the future, which hasn't happened yet. So if you can actually master the art of specifically being present, you can remove anxiety and fear out, because you're in the complete now. Unless you're being chased by a lion or being eaten by one, then at that very moment, of course, that's full of anxiety and pain. But chances are you're not, right? So we have an addiction in our subconscious to want to go, oh my God, this happened before, or, oh, this could happen in the future. We're not even in that space. But we have an addiction to suffering. We have an addiction in society to worry. And we have an addiction to it not being enough, or we're not enough. And we have to get rid of that, because we have to come from a neutral place of what is the next best thing to do. And today, because I've spent, I would say, probably 8 hours on the phone coaching and on the Zoom and everything else, and having some really great discussions, that finding your flow through chaos is like sitting on a boat in a storm. If you've done everything possible and you've got a safe corner of that boat, and it's, just going between the waves, and that's all you can do, there's nothing else you can do, then you have to find comfort with that discomfort. Because if you sit there in further state of anxiousness, you'll use more energy, you'll deplete more resources. Fear is real. How you respond to it is what we need to do as a generation, as a community now, as individuals, so that we can ascertain how our body takes on stress at the moment in these massive, unprecedented times of complete uncertainty and general fear in every corner. So I think what's really important today is I really just wanted to jump on to go, you're not alone. Like, far out. This is like, and not only that, it's the full moon. So hello, throw that into the mix as well. And we're about to come up to massive eclipse energies at the end of November. I know everyone's going to think I'm woo-woo, but I am, so get over it. But this is just a lot going on. And for sure, you're not going to be the best version of yourself all the time, because we're a work in progress. So you kind of got to get on the ball, like the bunking brawl, and just give it a go and go, okay, well, I know what Nikki's saying, but have I been really strict in actually applying that rule? Am I just going, oh yeah, that makes sense, and I'll do it for 20 minutes and then I'll forget about it for the week and wonder why I'm stressed again? But we're happy to sit and do a budget for 3 weeks. We're happy to sit and work late on a client project. We're happy to sit and do someone else's homework or do a design project or go in the garden or move the car or whatever else. But we're not happy to put the work in to actually go, have we got radical self-belief around our thoughts and adjustment? Are we applying the rules of plasticity, of neuroplasticity, of instead of filling the negative cup up, we're going to fill the right hand positive cup up. Instead of doing a left hand bicep curl, I'm going to do a right hand bicep curl, because mental gym is exactly the same thing. It is about training your mind as a muscle to have a new response and a new chemical reaction to what you're going through. And you have the ability to absolutely retrain your brain. But you can't do it by sitting on a book and hoping it's going to come in by osmosis. And you can't do it by constantly filling up with all this information on the internet and not applying it. I think I did this little story the other day. It was 5 reasons not to buy my book. Which I thought was genius. Don't buy it if you don't want to change. Don't buy my book if you don't want the best possible life you can have. Don't buy my book if you absolutely just don't want to do any work and be accountable. Then my book is not for you. Stay away from that. But I think this is about life. Like, if you don't want to change, if you don't want to be your best, if you don't want to be curious, then you're going to stay stuck. If you don't want to lean into the discomfort, which is where the magic lies, because then you see everything, then you'll stay stuck and then you'll stay miserable and nothing will change. So there's a song, and someone said it to me the other day, and I hope they don't mind me sharing this information. I think it was one of my gorgeous clients, and she said she feels like 27 paper dolls, that she's just been living all these individual lives, like, trying to be everything for everyone. I said, yeah, but what if we took all those 27 paper dolls and we realized that they were the one thing, that alignment? And that's really what we have to harness now. And that's really the gift that this universe, the earthquakes, COVID, the discussions, the lack of certainty, the requirement to pivot, the ability to not have anywhere else to turn but look at yourself and go, what the is next? That is awesome. That is where you're going to get your greatest change. That is where you're going to have the best magic. That is where you're going to cry, get on your knees, get to the point where you are forced to level up, not in an external way, but in a way that is truly the art of, on a cellular level, understanding flow, and that you absolutely are a strong piece of the puzzle that makes up humankind. But you must be yourself in that. And that means not copying anyone else, not adhering to other people's rules, but leaning into the discomfort and go, what am I not doing to show up for myself? I keep asking everyone else to do all these things for me. What am I avoiding? What pain do I not want to look at? Because the sooner you bring it up, the better it will be cleared and the faster you can move on to sovereignty. And that is so important, because in sovereignty, you can access all types of information. So I'm probably making your mind boggle. I hope so anyways. And in this little thing here, I have all my little ideas and musings and all sorts of things and great little things that come up from chats and I think I urge you to go, what are your takeaways? When you listen to information like this and you get inspired and you start reading books and you start harnessing mastering self, what are you going to do about it? That's going to change your reality, because ultimately that's what we're responsible for. And having kindness and compassion that everyone around you is going through a state of turmoil, I think, is number one. That's probably the most important thing. And secondly, having that for yourself and having the ability to go, I just need space to breathe, to calibrate, and to percolate. Instead of fixing and forcing, I'm going to pause and I'm going to percolate. And I'm going to understand, why am I feeling like this? Instead of projecting your feelings and your fear and your frustrations, ask yourself, what is it that you really need? And instead of racing around and trying to be fake positive, sit with your feelings for a little bit and go, that really sucks. And let them move through you instead of attaching a story to everything that makes it last longer. So I hope that this live or recording whenever you're watching it really makes some sense. and that you must trust yourself more than anything. And there are so many things out of our control at the moment, and it's unfair, and it is unjust, and it is tiring, and it is exhausting, and it is difficult to plan, and it is hard to be there for your kids, and it is freaking a mental storm, right? It's an emotional, financial, physical, spiritual, mental storm. I mean, every single barricade is up in everyone's lives, and it's painful, and it's okay to say that. It's okay to say this is effed up stuff that's going on. Yes, it is, but we're in this together, and you're stronger than you think. So if you need help, put your hand up. If you haven't applied Thought Tinder, episode 149 on radical self-belief, the Mojo Maker podcast, then please apply it, because you can't create change without doing the work. You can't just wish it to happen. And if you are feeling stuck and sad, sit with that, journal, let yourself process that, purge that, be in that, and then go, what do I want my state of being to become? You know, peaceful, happiness, grounded, full of love for what I do and who I have around me. And then if you're going through tough times with family or a partner or your kids at the moment, maybe give some space to go, instead of me trying to fix and coach and teach and motivate and lecture and help and assist, maybe give everyone a bit of space to come into their own realizations, to catch their own breath, and know that you're still there for them. But if we keep emasculating, if we keep disempowering, if we keep over-functioning as leaders in society, and we don't allow everyone else to show up in their own right, then we're not going to have a strong foundation. So sometimes you're going to have to get your kids to emotionally show up in their own right. Sometimes you're going to have to get your staff to have the space to emotionally show up. They can't just keep complaining. We've all at the moment got to provide a basis. We want to show commitment for growth and commitment for change and commitment for community, while nothing else is in our control. And if you love someone and you feel like they're losing you or you're losing them and this is all too much, remember the great things that are meant to be for you will never pass you by. And that's very important. You've got to lead from your heart and slow your head down a little bit. Slow the judgment down, slow the fear down, slow the thought of lack and loss down, and of guilt and past behaviors. Because if you have the ability to draw a line in the sand as a leader, if you have the ability to draw the line in the sand as a parent, as a partner, as a loved one, you can always go, well, I didn't do that well, but wow, have I changed and grown to do it differently this time? Because that's where evolution is, and that's how you become awesome. And that's how you get your experience. But if you remain stuck in what went wrong, and if you remain stuck to the story of what's going wrong in our external world right now, then you're not going to feel great about anything, and nothing is going to change in between, right? So my urgent message today is we should be prepared to be okay with discomfort. But we should use it as a gift to go, what is that emotion? Slow down all the projection and the needing to fix and go, how can I move through that so that I can come out stronger and with a more realistic approach, that there are going to be so many things outside of our control, and that all you can do is show up with grace and humility and integrity. Apologize if you need to for something, because at the moment we're a bit tense. You know, we're very reactionary, we're stressed out, we're tired, and we're pulled in all directions. That is when you start to see your greatest character. So allow that to unfold. Allow your characteristics to become better than they have ever been before. I don't want to hear, yes, I've always been like that. Well, then you'll get the same freaking results. And it's such a cop-out. I don't care if you were a shit before. What I care about is how you're going to show up now. Because we have no excuse. We have so much information, we have so many tools, we have so much space and the ability to become better at being there for ourselves and there for others, that to say that stuff that's happened to us before is why we don't do stuff now, that's a cop-out. To not face our greatest fears in relationships and business and in friendships, and to go, shit, I want to do this differently, but to stay stuck, that's a cop-out. To use mental health as the only thing that is an excuse on how you treat other people in a bad way. That's not true, because most people with depression and mental health, it doesn't give you a first right class card to be an asshole. You know, usually when people are in that space, they can hardly function at all. So we have to be really careful and impeccable with our words about what excuses we're making for our behavior. And if you stuff up, you can say sorry. Like, you're allowed to. But you've got to be able to be prepared to receive someone's apology. If it's genuine, leave them the space to come in, and don't be a dick. You know, don't push someone when they're down. If we've all made mistakes. So if a leader comes back, if a partner comes back, if a parent comes back, if a kid comes back and says, I'm really sorry, I wasn't thinking straight, I'm so embarrassed by that, allow them the ability to give you that apology and think, oh, wow, you know, thank you for showing up. They must have taken a lot of courage, and accept it instead of sitting there making a mountain out of someone else's misery, you know. I think that's a thing I don't like seeing at the moment, is jumping on other people's mistakes and riding on the coattail of misery. That's just not something I want to see happen. Hey, Mark, how's it going? You missed your meeting yesterday. You're in big trouble. So I think today I just wanted to say we're all going through unprecedented times, but it's not like as a world we haven't gone through it before. The interesting thing, though, is that as a world we have more tools to stay connected than, for example, my grandparents, when they were in the war, they didn't have this to have conversations. They couldn't just FaceTime someone across the other side of the world. We're so lucky. And we're going through natural disasters, unnatural disasters, emotional, physical disasters, financial disasters, but we got this. And what I urge you is to think about the power of neuroscience, the power of community, the ripple effect, and everything we think has the power to shift our reality. But also, it's the things we do when no one's watching. It's the impeccability of our conversations. Do not say one thing to someone and then manipulate that to someone else anymore, because it will come to the surface eventually. Truth is like cream, it always rises to the top. Don't think that you need to control other people to avoid a confrontation. That as well is not going to work out. This is the time more than ever that we actually need to be sovereign, impeccable, suit up, say, I might not have been great before, but I'm giving it one heck of a freaking good go to be amazing now. And if you've got that intent and you can just look at that glimpse of happiness, that tiny bit of mojo, that ability to look deep within and go, there's a bit of sparkle there, I'm going to grab onto it. That's all you need, and then the rest will follow. But if you decide to sit in the mud and stay messing around with misery, then you're just going to attract more of it. And who wants to be there anyway? We have enough tools now, we have enough resources, we know how to move ourselves out of a state of duress, out of a state of stress. It's up to us to put the personal discipline in, to actually use those tools, to thought tinder, to swipe right, to change the second part of that sentence, and to choose your new reality, regardless of the bombs that are going off outside your front door. So I urge you today in your relationships to be kind and to remember, have a bigger picture. Do not hang on to arguments that are not necessary. Do not form hate and opinion and judgment over other people unless you've really shown up for yourself first. Give your partner, your kids, your parents a chance to just be human and go, how can we make this better? Because with shared intent, anything is possible. But what we don't want is the ability for misery to have more company, to dine out on the distress, to dine out on disgrace, to dine out on discomfort. We need to go, yes, this is shit, but here's what we're going to do to find flow, to find a bit of equilibrium, and to be okay that no matter what's going on around us, we have to find something within ourselves that gives us a feeling of groundedness, connects us to our emotions and feelings, and has us showing up for ourselves. And then the rest will follow. So dealing with discomfort, you can't wing it. You have to realize it, acknowledge the emotion, understand you have the ability to choose your second thought regardless of the situation that is out of your control. What is in your control is you showing up. And you can't control other people, but you can say, this is my truth. And that's the last thing I want to say. Someone's individual decision does not mean they're anti another person. So if I'm pro my decision, if I'm pro decision around values or around a relationship style or around how I want to show up, it doesn't mean I then hate on, antithesize, protest, become a protagonist for other people that are making their decisions. So if you want to be respected for making hopeful decisions and for showing up for yourself and having kind discussions, then make sure you're not anting anyone else's viewpoints, because that's their business, right? So now's not the time to throw great relationships out the window. Now's not the time to avoid the work you need to be doing to become a better leader, a better parent, a better partner, and to go, I really fucked that up before, but I'm going to change it now. I'm going to do better. Now's not the time to abandon yourself. And now is certainly not the time to let your thoughts go to all the things that go wrong in the world or that have gone wrong in your life. This is the time to look right, to find that tiny ounce of mojo, to find the tiny, tiny light at a very dark tunnel and go, that flower's beautiful, or wow, I have some great friends, or I've got the internet working, or geez, I can change my reality. I can sit, I can meditate for 30 seconds and shift my thoughts. Therein, the power of neuroplasticity. But if you keep watering misery, that is going to grow. So if you're stuck, reach out. I'm also going to say Radical Self-Belief, pre-order on Booktopia, and you get a t-shirt, and it's freaking awesome. So I need you all to go to Booktopia. The link is on my Instagram. It's very, very exciting. The book is extra. I don't have a copy. I should actually get a copy just to show you. So excuse me why I try and do that without breaking everything here. So I'll just do that for a second. And I'm back. So this is the book. I'm very proud of it. And if you get the book at the moment, also in here in the book is a doing book. It's a very Nikki book. All my quotes and worksheets. You get the 5 worksheets on my website at the moment if you go and sign up for Monday Mojo. And Radical Self-Belief is available on Booktopia. Please order a copy. I would love your support. And it's freaking radical. It's all the stuff I'm talking about. I really want to get this in the hands of everyone because I'm so tired of people feeling like they can't do it. And they go, it's all right for you. But everyone has the ability to change their thoughts. You just got to want to. And everyone has the ability to be happy, even against all odds, because the universe, there was never a mandate to say, thou shalt have a shit, stressy life. I never got that memo. I never saw it anywhere in any kind of religious script either. I think what we have to do is change our script and go, we are all entitled by birth on this planet with our intelligence to find a way through this that can create a collective energy for success, for happiness, for fun, for joy, and for feeling connected and significant, regardless of what is being thrown at us. And that's my mission, is to make sure that any of you listening try and get through this screen here. It's a long day for me at 6 p.m. in the evening. I've been working since 6 for like the 7th day in a row, but I love it. And I feel this is my role, is to say, if I could reach through Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching this and go, you're going to be okay, but you've actually got to show up and change some of your behaviors to choose a positive thought and to be the best version of yourself and to be impeccable. And just know this, if you are confused and hedging your bets and manipulating and trying to control, it'll only backfire, because everyone deserves the right to be treated with respect. So you've got to start doing that. And then that will happen for you as well. So regardless of what's happening to you at the moment, to my friends in Melbourne and in Sydney and across Australia that have gone through the earthquake, to New Zealand, to my mum who's just, lost my dad and then went into lockdown, to those of you that are not able to get to loved ones that are passing at the moment, my heart goes out to you. We can't try and heal everybody, but we can have emotion where we're trying to be comfortable with this discomfort and form an energy which is, we got this. And that is where we need to sit. is that don't focus on all the stuff that's going wrong, but focus on what's the next right thing to do. And be impeccable and do the work, and don't skip it, because it will never fail you when your foundations are solid. So I really, really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Send me a little comment down there if you like it and you like this style of live. I just decided to do it off the cuff because I've just been having so many heavy conversations and people are really lost. That really worries me, because we can't be lost when we have so much digital GPSs available to us. You've got to find it in here. And hop online, buy Radical Self-Belief, the book. It's a doing book. It's got some great pit stops in it. My 7 checkpoints for sustainable success, lots of worksheets. It's written with pride and with passion and with purpose. I'm exceptionally proud of this work, actually. And I just loved hanging out with you guys this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you watch this on YouTube later, great. Thank you so much. I know I should do more there. Everyone's saying, do your lives on YouTube. And I'm like, I don't know where to do them. So I'm just doing my best right now, everybody. But what I will say is I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what topics you'd like me to talk about. I'd love to hear what's helping you in some of the stuff. I want to add more value and give you more tips and ensure that I can provide a service to each of you there. Thanks, Kylie. It's so good to see you. Wherever you are, wherever you're sitting at, this is, a privilege to be able to have the space to chat and to give you the tools that, despite everything, me losing my dad, and then launching this book and so many things going on, I really miss my dad every day. So I really feel for anyone that isn't with a loved one. And I know relationships are really tough at the moment too. So the best relationship you have to start with is that with yourself. And take your foot off the neck of other people at the moment and just go, we just all need a bit of space to breathe. We need to be kind. We need to not be so serious. We're doing our best. Wrap your arms around someone. If you really love someone, tell them that you love them, and go for the good stuff. Put sugar on everything. Sprinkle some sugar rather than salt. So this is Nikki Fogden-Moore. You're with me on Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker, a little live as well. And Roxy's with me. We would love you to help support the book on Booktopia. The link is in my Instagram bio. I really, really would love your support. If you've done a Booktopia pre-order, please DM us or email media@NikkiFogden-Moore a copy of your receipt, because then you get a cool t-shirt. That is right. So loving you all. Anyone else got anything they want to say before I tune off? I hope you've enjoyed this session. It's so good to see some familiar faces. And I'll put this on IGTV so you can watch it and kind of download all the information, take some tips. And I'd love to know what you implement from this. So remember, thought Tinder, swipe right, let go of the negative thought. It might come up, but don't feed it anymore, because it is not required. It will not serve you. It will not help you, and is changing your molecular structure, your cellular levels, your DNA to sit in misery. Move yourself out of that. It's worth it. You can do it. It takes a bit of discipline, but that's neuroplasticity. Train your right bicep instead of your left, if you have to think about it that way. So tune in, nikkifogdenmoore.com website. I'll just pop it here, and you can get Monday Mojo. There's the worksheets for my book as well for free on there. So I've just put that there. And yeah, have a wonderful evening, day, whenever you watch this. You got this. Remember, you're in the driver's seat. And until next time, you stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Bye.